Keep yourself in the loop of everything football on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. The latest news on and off the field, be it college football, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC to the NFL. We've got you covered. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
And welcome back, everybody, to another edition of the GSMC Football Podcast, Patreon exclusive content episode. I am your host, Kenneth Gruenfelder, once again, and it's great to have you guys here on this Wednesday. So I just got wrapped up with the live portion of today's show. We went through the power rankings. We talked about the NFC North, the Giants quarterback situation. And then we went through the current stat leaders after this past week. So obviously, starting off the show, and we talked about the NFC North, and it was really like, talking about the Packers and, kind of how they've, been struggling as of late. The last few games have not been kind to them. They've dropped their last two games to, the Raiders, who aren't very good, and the Broncos, who, many people talk about as the worst team in football. And obviously they, got crushed by the Lions at home. And Jordan Love looks like he has regressed. And, that's not good. It's not good. And it also, you also got to look at Matt LaFleur, too, as well. Because for me, listen, I don't think Matt LaFleur is a bad head coach, but I don't think he's a good head coach. And I think eventually he's going to find himself. Packers eventually might move off of him, sooner rather than later, because listen, I mean, he had Aaron Rodgers for the first 4 years that he was the head coach, and the Packers were very successful. I mean, not last year, of course, but they were a very successful team. They could have made it to the Super Bowl. But obviously that didn't happen. They lost to better teams. And, you could argue they were better than the Bucs in 2020. But, listen, with Tom Brady and, that team, it was going to be tough. And obviously the Packers were on the losing end of that. Many people criticized him for, kicking the field goal and not trying to go for the touchdown to tie the game in that spot, because then Tom Brady got the ball back and Packers never saw it because Tom Brady picked up first downs and that was it. But yeah, so for me, Matt LaFleur's Packers record is really because of Aaron Rodgers, and he's a guy that many people criticize when you're talking about making halftime adjustments and things like that. There's a lot of issues with the Packers. It's everywhere. It's on the defensive side of the ball. If you want to look at the defensive coordinator for the Packers as well, Joe Barry. Whether it's LaFleur, whether it's injuries, how Jordan Love is playing. There's so many things going on with the Packers right now. But it's definitely concerning when Jordan Love started off the year strong. Now, last couple weeks has not looked good. And, I think also you got to look at, teams are starting to, they're seeing more and more of him. They know what his tendencies are. And the last two games have ended basically the same way. It's the Packers going down the field to try to win the game, and Jordan Love just heaves up a throw, and it gets picked off. So, it's not looking good right now for the Packers. This division is getting a little more interesting just because now the Lions lost. Vikings won a very unexpected game against the 49ers. Listen, I think the Lions still win the division. But like I talked about it on the show, the Lions and the Vikings play each other 2 of the last 3 weeks of the season. So that's definitely something to keep an eye on. Now, the Vikings, they got to get Justin Jefferson back. So, and that definitely helps. But you got to like what Jordan Addison's doing. I mean, he's been playing really well. I mean, he had a great game against the 49ers. That was his best game as a pro so far. So, but yeah, I mean, the division's getting, I thought for me, the Packers were probably the second best team in the division. But right now they, a loss to the Saints, if that would have happened, they'd be in last place right now. Even the Bears would be ahead of them. So, right now they look like one of the worst teams in football. And, they got a game against the Vikings now on Sunday, which I talked about. So we'll see what happens there. But, it's not looking good right now for the Packers. Obviously, we talked about the power rankings. The Lions, they fell to 7. The Jags are in 6. I'd still probably put the Lions ahead of them. And then it's probably debatable on who would you put, rather the Dolphins or the Lions. But I didn't really have any complaints with the power rankings. I mean, even like towards the end of them, the Patriots were ranked below the Broncos. I was like, impressive win. They had a more impressive win. I'd probably put them over the Bills. Well, them winning over the Bills. I'd put them ahead of the Broncos. Broncos beat the Packers. The level of competition there, I don't know. But again, I don't know. And I think they still had the Raiders ranked behind, I think, the Packers, but Raiders beat them, so I'd probably put them over the Packers right now. Yeah. But yeah, I didn't really have any complaints with the power rankings. I thought they were fine. The Chiefs are at the top, Eagles behind them. I didn't have any complaints with that. I think right now, I still am going to hold on to the fact that I think the Niners are still the best team in the NFC at the moment, but not looking good. It's, and we'll really find out what these two teams are made of, the Eagles and the Niners, when they play each other in Philadelphia. I want to see the Niners at full strength play the Eagles at full strength, and we'll see what happens. But judging off of what's happened the last couple weeks, I don't know. I think you might have to lean towards the Eagles a little bit. But the Eagles have their issues too. I mean, Hurts is still turning the ball over, so there's that. But, the Niners, especially, on defense, I mean, that was really concerning. The Niners not getting any kind of pressure on Kirk Cousins. And that makes you wonder, Niners don't get pressure, are they going to get picked apart? Again, is that how it's going to be? That's really concerning. But yeah, we talked about the power rankings, and we went over the Giants quarterback situation. And yeah, I mean, listen, I've been consistent with that. I just don't look at Daniel Jones as the guy. I just think that the Giants are going to have to, I think they got to move in a different direction with that. And I don't have any, animosity towards Daniel Jones, anything like that. I mean, obviously, I wanted to see him succeed, but I don't see it. I don't see it with him. And, I talked about, his, how different he plays when he doesn't have Saquon Barkley. Obviously, the records are still a losing record, but, he needs a really good running game behind him. He benefits from that. And obviously, yes, you want to have a good running game, but he's a guy that needs a running game. He cannot, if he doesn't have a running game, he's a different guy, and the Giants need somebody that, can deal with, if some of the parts aren't working, he's able to, deal with it. And, unfortunately, towards the end of Eli Manning's career, he was a guy that could not deal with that. He needed everything to be right to be successful. I think if the Giants would have addressed a lot of those problems earlier in his career, he'd still be playing. But, that's a different story there. But, yeah, I mean, based off of how Tyrod Taylor has done recently, I mean, it's not looking good for Daniel Jones right now. And if you want to talk about who the most valuable player is on the Giants, yeah, it's Saquon Barkley. Team is different when he's playing. I mean, they've looked better the last 2 weeks. Obviously, they only put up 9 points against the Bills. But, he ran the ball for 93 yards, had a couple of big runs, in the second half. He had that 32-yard reception for a touchdown in this game on Sunday, this past game. I hope the Giants do keep him around. But I understand, you're not going to overpay for him. If he still wants to get paid, the Giants shouldn't give him the contract that he wants. Because the other thing, too, is gets hurt. The COVID year, he tore his ACL. We got banged up in 2019. He missed some time. He's missed some time the last couple of years. 2021 he missed some games. This year he's missed some games. I mean, it happens. When he's on the field, he produces. But, I think going forward for me, you kind of ride it out with Tyrod. Especially, not even just because, if the Giants are playing better, you keep it with him. But also, Daniel Jones' long-term health, I think, is in question. Because this is now his second neck injury that he's dealing with. And, you don't want to send the guy back out there and he gets really, really hurt. And I don't want to see that. It's weird what's going on there with that. But I don't know. It's a tough situation right now. And the other thing too is, back to a football perspective and not just a human being perspective. You don't want to send the guy out there and him getting seriously hurt. Also, Daniel Jones turned the ball over this year. Had some turnovers against Dallas, against the Cardinals, the bad pick six against Seattle. Tyrod Taylor has not turned the ball over once since he started. Now, that could all change on Sunday because they're going to be playing a very good Jets defense that does force turnovers. But, guy hasn't turned the ball over. The 2 turnovers that the Giants had on Sunday, it was because of Saquon Barkley and because of Sterling Shepard returning punts. And that's what Sterling Shepard is now. His role is returning punts. And it stinks, though, because he's another guy that I like, but he's always hurt. Always hurt. And he wanted to stay a Giant, but, yeah, he's getting no playing time at all. None. And the Giants had some good plays. The long pass to Hyatt. You had the touchdown to Waller. The Giants had good moments. Well, in the first half. The second half, they did nothing. The second quarter was their, maybe their best quarter of the season. Honestly. One of the best. Because that's where they got those points. Both of their touchdowns. So, it's a tough call. I think what they're going to do is they're going to go back to Daniel Jones when he's healthy. If he does come back. Me personally, I think you just keep riding it out with Tyrod. But ultimately, though, you get to the end of Daniel Jones' contract, and I think you got to go in a different direction. Unless he comes back and just goes off and has this crazy, second half to the season, and then you ride it out one more year and he goes off. That's the only way. But I just don't see it. I really don't see it. If the Giants continue to build this roster and get more talent on this team, because that's what this team is still lacking. It's still lacking some talent. At the skill positions, the offensive line still needs work, of course. There's a lot. The Giants still have a lot of work that needs to be done with this team. Obviously, they took a big step forward last year. They've taken a massive step back. And it really once again, you're looking at the decision makers. You're looking at Brian Dable, you're looking at Joe Shane, and you're questioning them because you're like, how did we go from making the playoffs last year to being one of the worst teams in football? It's not good. Not good. Now, the defense has played better. So at least that's encouraging that they're getting right there. The offense has started to show some signs of life. And, I think for the most part, their gauntlet of a schedule is over. I mean, you still got to play Dallas one more time. You still got to play Philly twice. So those are going to be tough games. I don't think they're going to win any of them, if I'm going to be honest. I just don't. And, obviously I talked about, them having to play the Eagles on Christmas, which is going to stink, because I don't want to watch it. But I'm going to have to. 'Cause I'm a football fan. Of course I'm going to watch it. But, it's like I'm okay with the Giants not being in the spotlight. Because they finally get into the spotlight, and then what ends up happening? I mean, 40-0, 24-3. I mean, they could have beaten the Bills, but it was just an ugly game all around. I could do the Thursday night game against the Niners. I could do without it. But they still got some primetime games. They still got one against they still got a Monday night game against the Packers later in the season. So that's it. Right now that looks like a winnable game. But yeah, I mean, listen, with the quarterback situation, I mean, you could look at the talent, the offensive line, why Daniel, different schemes, different regimes, coaching. That's why Daniel Jones has gotten put in a bad spot. I mean, you take him and you put him on the Niners. I mean, he's definitely a different player. Of course, I mean, everybody is. It really would be hard not to succeed, depending on who you put into that situation. But for me, I think Daniel Jones, you put him on the Niners and he'd be successful there. But he's not going to be successful here. I think his best chance to redeem himself with his NFL career is not as a New York Giant. But who will give him a chance? I don't know. I mean, there's teams that definitely need quarterbacks. But right now, he's still the Giants. He's still a Giant. And, as long as he's still a Giant, you're going to root for him to be successful. But obviously, for me, I would move off of him and go in a different direction. That's how I see it. But we'll see. I mean, it's a big game on Sunday. You got the two New York teams that play in New Jersey playing each other. It's a Giants home game. So, we'll see how it goes. We will see how it goes. I think that's a winnable game for the Giants. It's gonna be a tough game. It's gonna be a tough game for both teams, I think, because both defenses are playing well. I mean, the Jets defense is playing better than the Giants right now, but the Giants, they've looked good. Giants defense has looked good, and I think that's big too. Like, they're forcing turnovers now. They're getting to the quarterback. That's what you want to see. So as long as the defense is keeping them in games, they always are going to have a chance. It's just the offense is just, you got to give us more here. I mean, obviously it's looked better this past week, but now let's continue to build off of that. So even if Daniel Jones does come back, I just don't think it's going to be a massive improvement as opposed to Tyrod. But I give Tyrod a lot of credit, and I apologize to him because I thought he was going to get absolutely destroyed on 2 Sundays ago. I thought the Bills were going to, just overwhelm that Giants offense, and that didn't happen. That never really happened. The Giants beat themselves in that game. They did. So, yeah. But, we'll have to wait and see how Week 8 goes for the Giants as they will be playing the Jets. And then obviously we went over the stats leaders, the Dolphins. I mean, they led like every offensive category, which is insane. But people just still are like, yeah, maybe they might be fraudulent. And I can't really argue with it because they've beaten the Chargers. They have beaten the Broncos. A lot of those yards came against the Broncos when they dropped 70 points. They've beaten the Giants. They've beaten the Patriots. That's where a lot of those wins have come from. Against teams with losing records. Then you go up against the Bills, against the Eagles. And, you don't look as good. So, I still think this is a very good team. I think this team is still like a Super Bowl contender because of, the skill position players they have. And Tua's had a good year. But, like these other teams, you're gonna have to win games. You're gonna have to get home field advantage, and if not, you're gonna have to win games on the road. And that's kind of where, people are gonna doubt the Dolphins. So, and we'll see what happens. They'll be playing the Chiefs in Germany, so I hope that hopefully will be a very good game. But yeah, we're nearing the trade deadline. We'll see what happens if there's massive moves that end up happening. Any blockbuster trades. Obviously, the Eagles traded for Kevin Byard, which I've talked about already. So we'll see if anybody else gets moved. So we'll do a segment on that. Trade deadline is 6 days away. So on Halloween, I believe. Yeah, it is on Halloween. But yeah, I just can't believe it's Halloween next week. That's nuts. And we're getting to the holiday season already. Time is moving very fast. So yeah, and we're at that halfway point in the season, really. And right now you're kind of just like, who's good? You have there are good teams, but you're just like, every team, it's wide open this year. I think it's safe to say it's wide open this year. Like, you really have no idea. Right now, at this current moment, I would say the Chiefs are the best team. They on offense, they looked better against the Chargers, although the Chargers have a bad defense. But, the Chiefs right now, they are the best team at the moment. But it's going to change week to week. The NFL is week to week. 1 week this team looks good. 1 week this team looks bad. Then they're good. Then the other team that's good was bad. It's different every single week. So, and I think the 49ers now, because everybody's looking at them above and beyond as like the best team in the NFL. But now these last couple of losses, they've kind of like just fallen back down, back down to earth a little bit. And people are now, the Brock Purdy doubters are coming out and, saying, he's a system quarterback. And, yeah, it hasn't looked good the last couple weeks. It hasn't. He's looked pedestrian the last 2 weeks. Now, people are saying he's elite. I never said he was elite. I said he's looked really good. I said he's looked like an MVP candidate. Listen, the guy up until 2 weeks ago, he had only one interception. So, like, yeah. I looked at him as an MVP candidate. I don't think that really was that outlandish. But this is like, people on TV you watch saying that. But I don't think he's elite. I think he's a solid quarterback. Same thing with Tua. I think him and Tua are kind of in like the same category. Both solid quarterbacks. Both get the ball to their playmakers. But I would not put them in the same category as like a Mahomes. That's no. I think Mahomes right now he's in his own category. Because, Herbert, how he's been playing the last couple of weeks, and Allen, the way the Bills' offense has been playing, Joe Burrow getting off to a slow start. It's really Mahomes, and then it's everybody else. And of course, Hurts is, having the Eagles are doing well. Hurts is turning the ball over a lot. It's really Mahomes, and then it's everybody else at the moment. But yeah, I put Hurts, Allen, Burrow, Herbert in their own category. Well, and Lamar Jackson. You don't want to forget about Lamar, because Lamar's been really good this year as well. But Tua and Purdy, I'd probably put below those guys. But again, those guys are still. Sorry, I had a piece of hair in my. I say piece of hair. Hair in my face. Yeah. But I don't know. We'll have to see how it unfolds. The Niners, they got to get themselves healthy. They're missing, obviously missing Debo and Trent Williams is big. It's a big deal. But again, I still go back to it. The defense, how they played. That you got to be concerned about that, right? That was bad. They couldn't get any pressure on Kirk Cousins. Nothing. Maybe it's just one of those stretches that they're going through. The Bills are going through it. They're going through it right now. they're going to get it right. They're going to be fine. But, it's definitely stuff to be concerned about. But, yeah, so we're in Week 8. Obviously, later in the week, we're going to preview all these games. Tomorrow night, we'll preview tomorrow night's game. The Bills, speaking of the Bills, you got the Bills and the Buccaneers going at it. The Bucs are another team that's struggling now. So that game's going to be played in Buffalo, so that gets us started. So we'll preview that tomorrow. And we got a full slate this week. We got no buys, which is really weird. I don't know, but yeah, no buys. I think there's like 10 early window games on Sunday. So I got a full slate. Love having a full slate. Bye weeks are annoying. And it'd just be nice to just have I don't know. I kind of wish they got rid of Thursday Night Football. I think everybody does, but it's not going to happen. Thanksgiving, that could stay. Thursday Night Football, I could do without. But, that's what they're going to do. I mean, then you got the Saturday games, you got the Black Friday game. I mean, listen, you're going to have Wednesday football, you're going to have Tuesday football. I mean, it's going to be all over the place. Yeah, because, with the pandemic, it changed a lot of things. I mean, we saw a football game on every single day, which was crazy. I mean, you had the Steelers and the Ravens playing on Wednesday. You had Friday football. You had, Tuesday football. It was a weird time. It was a very weird time. And that combined with the streaming services, now you got these Peacock exclusive games. I mean, yeah, I know I talked about it. The streaming services are just a bit much. But you know what? It's something that got open that's not going to get closed. That's something they're going to lean into for years to come. So, yeah, but that's just how it is. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Another edition of the Patreon exclusive content. Once again, I thank you guys for tuning in today. Once again, the live portion of the show will be back tomorrow, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern Time. So we got that. Then on Friday, we'll have the double show. That's coming up. We got the the World Series, which will be starting soon. Got our matchup. So I'll make sure to, give you updates on that, of course, and other stuff. But yeah, the week's half over already. I can't tell you how, weeks just fly by. How the weeks have been now, they've gone faster than they ever have, at least for me. Between going to school my whole life, college. The weeks just, every day is just, you blink and it's over. So, you got to just cherish every moment. That's really how you got to look at it. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Another show done today. Again, we'll be back again tomorrow. We'll preview tomorrow night's game. Got other things to talk about as well. And so until then, I'm Kenneth Grunfelder once again signing off from the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Once again, have a good day, guys. I will see you tomorrow. Take care. Enjoy the day. I'll see you tomorrow.